Hello and welcome to Sci-Fi Night LIGHT, where we talk about random topics that somehow relate to sci-fi and horror. So, don't you just hate it when you're promised something only to have it taken away? Well, that's exactly what happened last year when the TV series Roadside Picnic wasn't picked up for production, despite a really cool looking pilot. It was supposed to be produced by AMC, who produced Walking Dead amongst other successes, and featured a lesser known but experienced cast with a lot of potential. Now, you're probably thinking, Roadside Picnic? The fuck is that, some kind of traveling cooking show? Well, obviously not, and stay with me to hear why this is such a big loss to science fiction. So the name Roadside Picnic probably won't ring any bells, neither will the original 1971 novel of the same name by Arkady and Boris Strugatsky. The 1979 Andrei Tarkovsky film Stalker might sound familiar for some reason, but you also might be thinking, Andrei Husky? Interestingly enough, the adaptation most people watching this probably know will be the video game series beginning in 2007 with Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl, followed by Stalker Clear Sky and Stalker Call of Pripyat. So obviously the original story is cool enough to get several different adaptations, including the now cancelled TV series. So that begs the question, what's so great about this story? Well, let me put it this way. Even hormone-filled, video game-playing, spazzy 16-year-old me couldn't put the book down. And the film? Well, despite it being almost 3 hours long with barely any actual action, and long stretches of no dialogue and not a whole lot happening, I fucking loved it. So, what's the story? What is it that we're all missing out on in terms of this cancelled TV show? Well, let's start with a book. It takes place following an event called The Visitation, an event in which several spots around the globe were rapidly visited and then left by aliens, leaving behind strange artifacts while also strongly affecting the environment. So much so that there are spots that can just start randomly burning, places of intense gravity that can pull you down and crush your bones, and other dangerous obstacles. These environments are called zones and are closed off to the public as they're flat out deadly, but some brave people called stalkers dare venture in, sometimes serving as guides for others to get their hands on the valuable artifacts strewn around the dangerous wasteland. It's a great read, very well written, sets up a super interesting and atmospheric world, and 16-year-old me couldn't put it down. The 1979 live-action adaptation by film legend Andrei Tarkovsky also follows similar beats but with slightly different specifics. The film takes place in an unspecified time and country. The alien thing is mostly just mentioned and has no bearing on the story, and the movie itself is much more philosophical as we follow a stalker leading two men into the zone in search of the most prized artifact in it, the room.
You're lying! I never hit you! You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
Oh god, no, not that room. That room is legendary for completely different reasons.
Anyway, how is your sex life?
No, this is a mysterious room somewhere in the zone that is said to grant the wishes of the one standing inside it. One of the men who the stalker leads is a writer who wants inspiration for his works. The other is a professor who wants to study the zone. And the stalker himself has an almost religious relationship with the zone, kind of both fearing and worshipping it. So basically, a poet, a scientist, and a priest walk into a wasteland and... okay, I don't actually have a punchline for that improvised joke. Anyway, the film is beautiful, atmospheric, and one of my favorite sci-fi films ever. Yeah, it's super slow, but if you can get into the style and pacing, it's a truly wonderful experience. The video game, which debuted in 2007, changes up the setting with the zone of this story being inside Chernobyl, Ukraine, and a direct result of a real-life Chernobyl disaster of 1986.
There has been a nuclear accident in the Soviet Union, and the Soviets have admitted that it happened. The Soviet version is this. One of the atomic reactors at the Chernobyl atomic power plant near the city of Kiev was damaged, and there is speculation in Moscow that people were injured and may have died.
In the game, the zone is much more populated with different groups of stalkers, bandits, mercenaries, and cultists, all taking to the zone for different reasons, and is much more action-packed, but still features the same bleak, post-apocalyptic atmosphere, filled with mutated creatures, hostile rivals, and other dangerous things. I played and loved all three games despite a lot of pretty obvious technical issues, but for me, the atmosphere and the world that we built up totally made up for it. The Stalker universe in the book, film, and game is just so rich and detailed, like the many physical anomalies, dangerous mutants, and several different human factions vying for control and fortune. All three mediums convey some similar themes, but also very different ones, and in different ways. But video games are more action-packed, the book is more detailed and fleshes out the world, artifacts, and aliens much more, and the film is basically 2 hours and 40 minutes of great philosophical dialogue in one of the most unique film environments ever.
Но ведь человек пишет, потому что мучается, сомневается. Ему все время надо доказывать себе и окружающим, что он чего-нибудь достоит. А если я буду знать наверняка, что я гений, зачем мне писать тогда?
The book has a lot of great philosophical dialogue too, of course, but in pretty much all mediums we get very central themes of discovery, humanity's search for meaning in and in relation to the unknown, an unknown that brings out our innermost desires, fears, and attributes. A lot of a film is about different belief systems and how we handle power, such as that which could come out of a mysterious room in the zone. There are literally hundreds of articles analyzing different themes of Tarkovsky's masterful film, from religious symbolism to a metaphor for the Russian Civil War, but I must respectfully disagree and instead suggest that the true meaning of a film is much more purposely open to interpretation and different opinions, much like how all three characters with different belief systems and philosophies all have their own way of interpreting the zone. My personal touch on it is that a lot of it is about greed and human nature, how we go about handling potential power and the unknown. And what better environment to test that than in these extremely interesting zones? By giving us a background about an alien wasteland, we're treated to stories about human nature, and in some ways, the venture into the mysterious zone is almost like a manifestation of staring into the abyss long enough for the abyss to stare into us. As we venture into the unknown in search for deep answers and exotic artifacts, we may very well find out more about ourselves and our innermost truths. In many ways, the story asks us who we are in relation to the vast potential power of something that grants our wishes. What do those wishes and desires we bring into the zone say about us? Are humans just inherently greedy and selfish, or are we capable in acting in accordance with the greater good? And for that matter, what is the greater good?
Ведь вы приводили сюда множество людей.
Не так много, как бы мне хотелось.
Ну, все равно, не в этом дело. Зачем они сюда шли? Чего они хотели?
Скорее всего, счастье.
Also, I just love anything post-apocalyptic, and I can't even begin to count the amount of hours I spent sucked into this world across all three mediums. This is the perfect recipe for an excellent series that I could see going several seasons. The combination of fun post-apocalyptic action horror adventure combined with all the very human themes of us searching for success and meaning in the most dangerous of conditions, there's a reason the book and film are so highly revered. I really think the pilot looked very promising, and it had the potential to introduce a whole new generation of sci-fi fans to one of the most overlooked and interesting sci-fi worlds in many years. Hopefully, some other studio will pick it up for production, because I truly believe that this could be great. However, that unfortunately seems unlikely at the moment. But as we've seen time and time again, if a fan demand is big enough, there's a chance. And as someone who's read the book, seen the film, and played the game several times, this is a series well worth stalking after. So, that about does it for this episode of Sci-Fi Night LIGHT. We hope you enjoyed it. And what are your thoughts on the subject? Have you read the book, seen the film, played the game? And what do you think would be the best way of adapting your story into a series? Let me know in the comments below. I'm your host, Sebastian Vendel Martinez, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Ну и весело вам. Боже мой, да теперь вы 100 лет жить будете.